Welcome back for another video. I hope you are well. Today is another travel guide, this time for the city of Los Angeles. So I've been to LA twice. The first time is the first solo trip I ever took. I went there for 2 weeks, and then the second time was part of an escorted tour. It was where the tour started and ended, so it sort of had a couple of days there before the tour started. So yeah, because it's the first place I travelled solo, it does have a special place in my heart, despite it being a love-hate city for lots of people. So yeah, be going through how to get there, where to stay, the different areas, what you can do. So yeah, we'll get into it. So Los Angeles is located in the state of California, and from the UK it's about an 11-hour flight, and you fly into LAX, which is Los Angeles International Airport, and then to get from the airport to wherever you're staying, it is easiest to take a taxi or an Uber. So when I stayed in the West Hollywood area, the taxi was about between 40 minutes and an hour depending on traffic. It was quite expensive. I believe Ubers are slightly cheaper, but it was about $60 for the taxi ride, so it is a little bit expensive. Alternatively, you can take the metro. It's a lot cheaper, but it's much more awkward because you have to make multiple changes. There's no sort of one direct route from the airport to the centre of Los Angeles, so you have to go to Union Station and then change the line you're on to get to sort of the most common places where tourists like to stay. So Uber is easier but a lot more expensive. I've got my trusty notes again. So there are lots of different areas that you can stay in Los Angeles. My favourite place, I say my favourite place, is the place I went to stay twice, is the West Hollywood area. I found that was a good place to sort of base myself. It's part of the Fairfax and Beverly district, and I found that this was the best place to sort of then be able to go out to different places with ease. I'd also recommend staying in the Santa Monica area, just because you've got the beach there, and there is a bus line that goes from Santa Monica back to the city centre. So yeah, either West Hollywood or the Santa Monica areas are places I would recommend the areas to stay in. Airbnbs are common, either private rooms or whole apartments depending on your budget. The first time I went, I stayed with 4 girls in their Airbnb apartment. So it was a 3-bedroom apartment for 4 of them, and I managed to have a private room, which was really nice and needed. They were absolutely lovely. And one thing I would recommend about staying in an Airbnb with the people who live there is that you sort of become part of their lives, and you know, they might offer to take you out. So one of them was a photographer, so I went on one of their local photography shoots, sort of just following them around, and that was one good way to see the local area. And another girl, I went on a drive with her to she had to go and pay for a parking ticket, so I went on a little road trip with her to help her pay that. So she sort of showed me around the sites on the way to the office where she had to pay her fine. Hotels are very pricey. Obviously LA is known for a lot of celebrities, so the real top end hotels are really pricey. But I have stayed in the Beverly Laurel Motel, which is based in the Fairfax district. It's a motel with a pool. It's in a really good location, sort of so that you can walk places if you don't want to have a car. And it was nice to have the pool for the hot weather. When we went there was a heat wave and it was up to temperatures of 40 degrees, so the pool was needed. And then the rooms have microwaves, but there's also a diner attached, and restaurants nearby, so there's lots of different food options. So, touching on the fact that LA is famous for having bad traffic, one of the moans that I found people who have either been to LA before or live there, one of the moans people have about it is its inaccessibility. Everything is very spaced out, and so obviously the easiest way to get around is to hire a car. However, you can see the city without a car. I managed 2 weeks without hiring one, even if I did get lifts of people, either off my cousin who lives out there or the people I was staying with. But for the most part, I walked, and I mean, I walked a lot, but you get to see enough places doing by walking around. I felt quite safe during the day walking around, didn't really have any issues, and there was more than enough scenery to sort of keep me occupied as I was walking around. There is also the metro and the bus station, or the bus system, to get you around if you don't want to hire a car. It's got a reputation for being unreliable and a bit of a faff, because there's lots of different lines, and so you have to change places. But the few times I've used it, it was fine. But it's not a bad alternative if you want to hire a car. Again, I felt safe on the buses. I know, again, they've got a bit of a reputation that they're not that safe, but I was with my cousin. We were sort of two young females, and so felt pretty safe, and just sort of kept ourselves to ourselves and took sort of normal safety precautions. So yeah, if you don't want to hire a car, you can walk. When I say you can walk, in the West Hollywood area, that was the place that I found walking the easiest. So about 3 miles away was the Hollywood Walk of Fame street with all the stars. So yeah, I did walk there and back in a day, which was tough. But then you've got the Melrose Avenue area, and sort of the rest of West Hollywood. I walked to Rodeo Drive, to Beverly Hills, so it is walkable, but just be prepared to walk a lot. And yeah, the bus system as well, found that pretty easy to use. So there is so much to do in LA. I'm just going to go through some of the top recommendations of the things that I've done. I haven't done everything there is to do in LA, so I won't comment on the things that I haven't done. But the first thing I would recommend, and is my favourite place in LA, is to go to Santa Monica. So you've got the beach, you've got the pier, there's arcades, there's the Third Promenade Street, which is where all the shops are. So yeah, there's lots to do there. I could easily spend a whole day around in the Santa Monica area, and I did that several times. It's easily accessible from West Hollywood, either by car or by bus. It is about 50 minutes by bus, and you use the orange line. So I'll put up a map of the metro system and try and put an arrow to the line that takes you from West Hollywood to Santa Monica. So the actual beach area itself, it's an amazing sandy beach you can chill out on, or you can surf in the sea, you just paddle. The pier itself is actually the end of Route 66. So there's a landmark sort of sign saying the end of Route 66. There's arcades, there's a theme park, souvenir shops, food places. So the pier is the place to go. I would recommend getting there early. Things don't tend to open up till about 9 a.m, but by midday it does get very busy, very packed. But those first few hours in the morning sort of was very quiet and peaceful. You can walk, rollerblade, or cycle along the boardwalk to Venice Beach. So it's about a mile and a half between Santa Monica and Venice Beach. And on the way, you'll pass Muscle Beach, which is sort of the famous outdoor workout area, which is free to use. So you can do like a free gym workout. There's lots of skateboarders, buskers, people playing music, people selling things. So, try not to... I mean, I'm sure they are legit, but sort of was always a bit wary of like what they were actually selling. I found Venice Beach itself is a bit more of a hippie town compared to Santa Monica, and I didn't feel as safe here. There was a man who was sort of running around hissing at people, which sort of kind of made us have our backs up a little bit. But yeah, it's well worth a visit, and it's a completely different area to, or completely different vibe to Santa Monica. So it's nice to sort of walk along to Venice Beach and back. And then 17 miles up the Pacific Coast Highway, you have Malibu, which is sort of where the rich and famous live. It's another coastal town. I haven't actually been here, but if I was to go back to LA, I would want to try and get there. The easiest way to get there is by a car, but I don't know if there is a bus that would, or public transport that would take you there. So I'll look that up and put any details on the screen. After Santa Monica, my next favourite thing I did was to go and see the Hollywood sign. Obviously this is like the landmark that's iconic with LA. So there's lots of places you can actually hike to see the sign in the distance. So Runyon Canyon is one of them, although the sign is quite far away there, so you just kind of get a little glimpse. I'll put up a picture of the picture I got from Runyon Canyon. You can see it from Hollywood Boulevard, which is where the Walk of Fame with the stars are, or you can actually hike to the sign itself. So I'll put the details of where I parked, or where my cousin parked, when we went, and the trail that we did, because I can't remember off the top of my head. And you actually get to go up to the top and behind the sign, so you get really close to it. It does take a few hours. It's a good kind of 2-hour hike, so do need to take water because there's not much shaded areas there. And there was a sign as we sort of started the hike that said to watch out for mountain lions and rattlesnakes, which was a little bit unnerving, but thankfully we didn't see any, and the most exciting wildlife we saw was a little gecko. So I'm sure they're there. They'll probably more come out in at dusk and dawn, but just be wary, there are potentially dangerous wild animals lurking about. Another thing that Hollywood is, or LA is famous for, is the Walk of Fame. So this is the famous strip of road with the stars on the pavement, and it is located on Hollywood Boulevard. So yeah, I could spend ages wandering around trying to find people. I'll pop up little pictures of all the different stars with people's names on them that I found, and I still didn't see all of them. So yeah, it's well worth a visit to find all the people you like. But there's also you've got the Dolby Theatre, which is where the Oscars are, the Chinese Theatre. Hollywood Boulevard is where Jimmy Kimmel films his talk show. There's a Madame Tussauds there, and lots of souvenir shops. So there's definitely more to keep you occupied than just the stars. I would say this is not the safest area. I went here on my own and it was okay, but I was aware that I was in sort of quite a touristy place, and so I made sure that I kept all my belongings safe. There's lots of people trying to sell you things, and they'll give you the things without you kind of knowing, so it is easier just to say no. So someone gave me a CD of his and I took it without kind of realizing what I was taking, and then he tried to get $25 out of me for it. So I was like, no. I think I ended up giving him $5, which I'm really annoyed at myself for doing, because I didn't want this CD. And sort of, I tried to give it back to him and he kept saying, no, you've taken it now, you need to pay for it. So yeah, if anyone sort of comes up to you, just say no. There's lots of people in fancy dress who will get you to have a picture with them. So that was like sort of Spider-Man, Thor, like all the usual superheroes from the Hollywood films. Again, if you take a photo with them, they do expect you to pay them. And I have heard stories of them taking people's phones until you give them enough money. So again, if someone comes up to you trying to take a picture, just say no. So it is a bit of a sketchy area, but it's cool to sort of look around to see all the famous stars and all the famous names. And sort of as someone English, it's weird, like when you see an English person's name, you think, oh wow, they really did make it big in America to have their star on the Walk of Fame. Another place I quite liked was Sunset Boulevard. This is where you have the famous Chateau Marmont hotel and sort of club. This is where a lot of celebrities like to hang out. You've got the Viper Room, which is so special to me. It's where River Phoenix died, and I quite like him as an actor, so I wanted to go and see the Viper Room. And then there is Whiskey A Go Go, which is where a lot of bands used to perform in their early days. So yeah, walking along Sunset Boulevard is quite nice to sort of see all the different buildings there. And then another thing I did was a celebrity tour. Now, I booked myself on the wrong one. I thought I was doing a celebrity homes tour where obviously you drive around and they show you where different celebrities lived. However, I booked myself onto a celebrity spotting one, which wasn't particularly good. There was no guarantee we would see a celebrity. And the one person we saw was from the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. So I wouldn't have actually said they were a celebrity. But it was another way to sort of see different parts of the city. But yeah, if you want to book a celebrity homes tour, make sure you're booking on the right one. Okay, so they're sort of the main activities that sort of take up a good chunk of time. I'll now talk about the things that sort of you can do sort of if you've got a spare hour or two during a day. So one place that is worth visiting is Rodeo Drive. So this is the sort of posh shopping area with all the designers like Versace, Gucci, Prada, and it's nice to walk up and down, even if you can't afford anything in the shops, to sort of look at all the stuff in the shops, and also the nice cars that are normally parked outside the shops. Saw a lot of fancy supercars parked along the road. Another thing that you can do is to visit LACMA, which I think stands for the Los Angeles County Museum of Art. So it's basically an art museum, had lots of different installations. Some parts are free, like some exhibitions are free, others you have to pay for. So you can pick and choose depending on what you want to see. There is the Grove Shopping Centre. So this is an outdoor shopping centre which has got sort of more reasonably priced shops, we shall say. There's a Barnes and Noble, and I think there's like an Abercrombie maybe. I don't know if there is actually. There's a Gap, sort of your more basic high street shops. And there's also lots of restaurants there. And because it's outside, it's got kind of quite a nice, I was gonna say European vibe, but it's nice to sort of be able to wander outside in the sunshine. There's restaurants that you can sit down and eat outside. So yeah, it's quite a nice chilled area to visit. The Grove is also where I found my love for sprinkles cupcakes. That's where I had my first one, and then I went back throughout the rest of my time in LA and got sort of 6 or 7 more. So definitely worth getting a sprinkles cupcake. They're very nice. For more shopping, you've got the Melrose Avenue. This has got a mixture of designer and more boutique-y, high streety shops. So there's a real range here. I didn't actually buy anything, but it was nice to sort of especially the vintagey shops, to sort of go in and have a look at some vintage clothes. You've got the CBS TV Centre. So when I went to LA the first time, it was when James Corden was hosting his chat show. So I managed to get tickets for that. So you apply online. The tickets are free, but you just sort of put your name into a ballot. You select the dates you can do, and then if you're chosen, you get a ticket. I think they also film Dancing with the Stars there and some other TV shows which I'm not sure. So if you like going to watch TV shows being recorded, that's something you can do. And then the last place is the Griffith Observatory, which I haven't actually been to, but just when I was doing research on what to do with in LA, this was something that people recommended, for especially to go and watch the sunset. Sort of you get the picture over the LA skyline. The only reason I haven't been here is because it seemed the easiest way, almost accessible way to get there was with a car, which obviously I didn't have. So yeah, that would be one place probably where you would need a car to visit. And then there is the downtown area as well, which I've not been to, but if anyone's got any recommendations for the downtown area, then feel free to leave them in the comments. So I'll now talk about sort of some general bits and bobs. So first of all, food options. So when I went with my cousin, she had a lot of dietary needs. She was gluten intolerant and dairy intolerant, and she found it one of the easiest places in our whole road trip around California. It was one of the easiest places that accommodated to her dietary needs. So if you are someone who struggles to find food, there is a lot of places in LA that will accommodate that. There's a lot of vegan options, and yeah, lots of gluten-free options. So it does seem to be a city that does accommodate for dietary options quite well. There's a range of different food places. I remember I found a Greek place, an Italian place. There was sort of general burgery, dinery places, and yeah, but also a lot of places where you could do a takeout, or you can get food delivered like Deliveroo or Uber Eats to your hotel room. So when we stayed in the Beverly Laurel Motel, a couple of nights we got food delivered, and it was really easy for the delivery guys to get our food to us. So yeah, in terms of food options, there's lots of different places. There's also supermarkets like Trader Joe's or Whole Foods where you can sort of, if you're cooking for yourself, you can grab stuff from there. And then just in terms of safety, as a young-ish female traveller, I felt safe both times I've been to LA, although Venice Beach and Hollywood Boulevard, as previously spoken, are places where I just felt a bit more aware of my safety. Haven't really had any trouble with homeless people on drugs yet, whether I've just been lucky, because you do hear stories, but then also I don't want to sort of tarnish the city with a reputation that it may not deserve. So obviously just kept my wits about me, stayed in sort of busy places. During the day I felt absolutely fine. At night, didn't really venture out too much, but the couple of times I did to go out to get food, felt reasonably safe, even though sort of I was only doing sort of 15-20 minute walk. Staying in the residential areas sort of helped. I felt a lot safer there, but overall felt comfortable walking around by myself. So yeah, that is my guide to LA. I hope it was useful, or you found something that could help with a trip you're potentially planning. If you think there's something I've missed off, please feel free to comment them down below so that other people can hopefully use them for their trips. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.